Coming up on the show, the government aims to promote small to medium enterprises in the fisheries sector, where an MOA has been signed between NFA and two financial institutions to enable village-based fishing groups to obtain loans and venture into commercial fishing. We will have that story shortly, but first, we take a look at the minimum wage in PNG. The production phase for the PNG LNG project will begin shortly, and the hosting of the 2015 Pacific Games is getting intensive. As these and many other business-related activities boom, employment is simultaneously on the rise. But while employment can be seen as a wonderful opportunity by many of those employed, some are unhappy with conditions of employment, particularly wages. PNG's minimum wage has long been debated over the years, with changes unfolding gradually. With the current minimum wage review going on, one can only hope that it swings in the way of relief and confidence for workers in the country.
Richly endowed with natural resources, Papua New Guinea's economy has experienced a boost due to the start of the liquid natural gas project in 2009. Although in recent years, the economy has slowed noticeably due to the construction phase of the LNG facility nearing completion. But the economy of Papua New Guinea remains broadly robust and businesses upbeat. Meanwhile, according to the World Bank, for most Papua New Guineans, average living standards in 2013 were little changed from 15 years earlier. Hardship is higher for households that have had limited access to education or are unable to access employment opportunities, and approximately 40% of the population consumes less than a minimal basket of food, and material items and hardships are higher in rural areas.
Our calculation is that it will require about 606 kina for a family of 5 per week to survive adequately. And this is just basically on basic necessities. It doesn't take into consideration ice cream and this kinds of stuff like that. This is just basic necessities, including busfare to work, this kind of stuff like that. And for a single person, it will require about roughly half that amount for him or her to survive at the most minimum. Now we call this a living wage. Minimum wage and living wage they tend to cloud the thing, but we call it living wage because it is what a worker can subsist adequately and allow him or her to perform very well at the workplace also, so that the productivity levels meet up with the expectations of the employer and this kinds of stuff. That is not actually happening right now.
These hardships correlate greatly with the cost of remuneration in the country. PNG has a nationwide minimum wage for its workers, which essentially is the lowest amount of money unskilled adults can be legally paid for his or her work. Over the years, the minimum wage in Papua New Guinea has experienced reforms and changes. In 1992, the board reduced the minimum wage for newly hired urban workers to the same level as rural workers, as well as introduced the national youth wage, which applied to people between the ages of 16 to 21 who are in the labor force. Papua New Guinea's minimum wage was last reviewed in 2008 and was handed down in 2009. The current national wage rate was then set at 2 kina 29 toya per hour. Since then, with the high standard of living in the country, especially in the urban areas, complaints have arisen with many fighting for a reform.
We have seen the need for a review of the minimum wage determinations, and so we are very thankful to the Peter O'Neill government we have now re-established the national minimum wage hearings, and they are going around the country. And so we will be making our submissions very shortly on behalf of workers. Now they've been receiving submissions from various sectors of the community, including the business sector. The minimum wage determination hearings has a tripartite composition, meaning that they've got employer representatives, they've got worker representatives, government representatives, and there's 2 or 3 representatives, one representing women, one representing churches, and another representing another group that's inside. There's probably 9 of them altogether, including the chairperson. So it's winding down. It's really supposed to have completed its job last year, but for reasons unknown to me, they've dragged on a little bit, and so it put us to where we are. So we're looking for an increase And I just want to add that it's a very, very important piece of document because it forms the basis for an important social policy issue and also an economic policy issue. So it's very, very critical because a lot of the wages, it provides the floor level. So every other wages it tends to have a bearing. This determination has a bearing on other wages up the top and other living conditions and so on and so forth.
The newly appointed Minimum Wages Board have been conducting public hearings around the country to review and set a new wage determination.
This determination is for those little people, grassroots, plantation workers, general cleaners, gardeners, or whatever category of workforce we have. This is for them to set their rate for how much they should be paid.
The board's functions include reviewing and determining the appropriateness of the current method and conditions for wages, and where appropriate, determine a new national minimum wage.
It's really only two specific terms of reference that the board is going to be looking at, and that is to establishing, reviewing the 2008 Minimum Wages Board determination and establishing a new national minimum wage, and also reviewing the appropriateness of other allowances. And with other allowances like heavy-duty allowance, tool allowances, that will also be subject to the board's review. And interested persons, parties, should come before the board and tell the board what they feel the board should do about the other allowances.
She stated that the board will present the new set wage for public hearing in April. According to the Trade Union Congress President, John Pasca, fighting for the issue of low minimum wages in the country is more a matter of humanitarian rights than anything else.
There's a certain level also at which the human being, you're dealing with human beings here. The human being will be willing to work or will not be willing to work. You reduce it to such a ridiculous level, the human being will say, what am I wasting my time for here? I may as well go and lie underneath a coconut tree somewhere else. You know, it's painfully unacceptable at certain levels. And so the employee is most likely going to pick up. Or if he forces himself to go to work, you know, he's not going to perform properly. You know, all kinds of work accidents might happen, and it just sets everything backward.
The Human Development Index of PNG is boosted by economic performances, but is pushed down by social factors. In relation to other Pacific Island nations, PNG ranks 15 places lower on social than on economic ones, and poverty and inequality are worse here in the country than the rest of the Pacific and much of Asia. So it is evident that though the nation continues to experience an economic boost, the Papua New Guinean people are not sharing as much of the prosperity as they could.
You're watching Business PNG. Don't forget to like our Facebook page. After the break, encouraging SMEs in the fisheries industry. Stay with us. Welcome back to the program. Papua New Guinea has a valuable and extensive fisheries sector ranging from inland river fisheries, aquaculture, coastal beach dimmer, and reef fisheries to the prawn trawl and large-scale deep-water tuna fisheries. There is significant potential to increase the economic value and returns to PNG of these fisheries through better management and development programs. Earlier this year, the government through the National Fisheries Authority enabled a new credit facility for village-based fishing groups to obtain loans and engage in commercial fishing. This is to promote SMEs in the high-potential fisheries sector. The government, through the National Fisheries Authority, has created a credit facility that will enable village-based fishing groups to be engaged in commercial fishing by applying for a loan and then paying it back over a certain period of time. 10 million kina has been made available by the NFA to Nationwide Microbank and PNG Microfinance for fishing groups to apply for loans, with each financial institution receiving 5 million kina. Nationwide Microbank explained the aim of the credit facility in an interview last week.
The objective of the scheme is really to help village-based fishing groups, inland fish farmers, those endeavouring to participate in small-scale fishing activities.
The NFA has now signed an MOA with the two financial institutions for a new credit facility arrangement. Newly appointed Managing Director for NFA, John Kasu, commented on the new credit facility during the Leaders Summit held last week in Port Moresby.
So what we've done this year is basically approved, the board has approved 5 million kina, and we've signed an MOA between the PNG Microfinance and the Nationwide Bank. I think initial injection of 2 million kina has been put into those two banks, basically to provide credit facility for the little people to access loan facilities to start little businesses.
Fisheries Minister Mao Zeming, in presenting an overview of PNG's fisheries sector at the summit, also spoke about the development of SMEs through the new credit facility.
The sector will see further development in the fisheries sector related to SMEs and artists and fisheries, more particularly in the inland fisheries and farming. This focus will be given by both the National Fisheries Authority and the Coastal and Inland Fisheries Development Agency.
The minimum loan is 1,000 kina, and it goes through to a maximum of 500,000 kina. But all loan applications over 50,000 kina will be also assessed by the National Fisheries Authority to ensure that it meets the government's objectives and meets the legality of the applications, if you like. So, together with the NFA, we'll be involved in a number of collaborative processes, and we'll work closely with provincial fisheries divisions in each province and community-based organisations in order that we can monitor how the fish farmers are going and how the fishermen are going.
Mr. Westerway said although there will be challenges for those that will be applying for the loans to engage in commercial fishing, Nationwide Microbank is prepared to provide assistance.
Well, the challenge for the people will be to come up with a cash flow forecast and a business plan. And because we're a bank that works with the grassroots people, we will help people work their way through that. We will have our loan officers will sit down with the fishermen and women and help them fulfill that, filling out that business plan and that cash flow forecast.
With the government's aggressive move in recent months to encourage small to medium enterprises in the country, its approach in the fisheries sector to promote SMEs will be a great relief for village-based fishing groups.
Last year we expended 22 million kina. Currently in 2014 there will be a 70 million kina project. These are basically funds that are given to our little farmers, our little fishermen to enter into participating in the fishery sector, getting into projects. So what we've done this year is we'll be encouraging that. At the same time, we'll be reviewing what we have done for a couple of years, and I think we need to do this to ensure that what we're doing is improving the lives of people, creating jobs, employment, and so forth. And at least we're seeing tangible developments taking place.
The Project Development Fund that received National Fisheries Authority's budget of 22 million in 2013 is under review, and will see a greater participation in collaboration with the National Development Bank, the PNG Microfinance Bank, the Nationwide Microfinance, and NFA in the distribution of funding and supporting individuals and SMEs, where provincial grants will target the districts rather than provincial.
Minister Zeming highlighted key projects to be carried out for the fisheries sector in the near future. Firstly, district jetty programs for maritime provinces. Secondly, development of the fisheries market and ice plant. Number 3, small loan facilities. Number 4, aquaculture rollout development programs. Number 5, seaweed farming projects. Number 6, infrastructure rehabilitation. And number 7, provincial extension programs. Don't go away. More on the fisheries sector when we return. Welcome back. You're watching Business PNG. The fisheries sector is a renewable one and shows great potential in becoming a key driver of PNG's economy. Just like any other sector, the fisheries sector is faced with many challenges. But with some of the programs that have been initiated for the sector, such as the encouragement of SMEs, and with the country's rich and large exclusive economic zone, the future looks bright. According to the NFA website, Papua New Guinea has an extensive and valuable fisheries sector, ranging from inland river fisheries, aquaculture, coastal beach dimmer and reef fisheries, to the prawn trawl and large-scale deep-water tuna fisheries. The range of participants covers artisanal community to medium-sized domestic prawn and tuna longline operators to large international purse-seine fleets in the deep-water tuna fishery. The website states that the PNG fisheries zone of 2.4 million square kilometers is the largest in the South Pacific. The fisheries zone includes an extended reef system, numerous islands, and an extensive coastline. These create a lot of opportunities, but also present an enormous challenge for monitoring and control.
Unlike copper, gas, or oil, fisheries is sustainable when well managed, and therefore we need to ensure and pursue downstream processes, add value and create wealth for our people. In future, we are looking at investors who are willing to step on shore in value-added processing facilities and want to ensure a beneficial situation for our foreign friends while developing our local content.
The total market value of PNG catch is estimated at 350 to 400 million kina on average, although information on the true value of artisanal fisheries is difficult to obtain, and cyclical factors and commodity price movements, especially tuna, cause huge value swings from year to year. There is significant potential to increase the economic value and returns to PNG of these fisheries through better management and development programs. John Kasu took over from Sylvester Pokajam earlier this month as NFA Managing Director. The new Managing Director, who previously served as the Deputy Managing Director, however, has a huge task in meeting some of the challenges that remain for PNG's fisheries sector, especially in the stronghold area of tuna. In some of the challenges for the sector outlined on the NFA website, the continued growth of onshore tuna processing facilities will rely to some extent on continued or expanded access to key markets, notably the European Union and the United States. Agreements need to be made permanent so that market is assured and extended if growth is to continue.
Fisheries sector, through the efforts of NFA and the industry, will continue to promote and market PNG fish and fishery products overseas to attract foreign direct investment. European Union markets remain our attractive market, and we have in place intergovernment ratifications to continue this arrangement. The maintenance of competent authority status will ensure that the sector complies with European Union requirements.
Major increases in fuel and freight costs have had a significant negative impact on fishing operations, particularly in the tuna, longline and prawn fisheries. There is a need to develop and implement strategies to ensure PNG commercial fisheries can remain competitive and innovative. Export earnings are important, but the importance of fisheries to the local markets and subsistence economy is also of major importance to the PNG people and economy. Excess fees from deep water fishing nations currently form the bulk of the revenues received and managed by NFA. Other sources include license fees from other operators, assistance from donors, and penalties arising from prosecutions under the Fisheries Management Act. PNG's rich and large exclusive economic zone, 2.4 million square kilometers in extent, is one of the most productive in the South Pacific region. Although the country lacks large areas of continental shelf, its coastal waters and extended reef systems are extensive and are primarily harvested for subsistence purposes. PNG's riverine and inland waters also represent considerable potential for development, particularly in aquaculture. NFA plans to support a substantial project to determine the nature and extent of PNG's aquarium fish resources and establish commercial operations in the aquarium fish trade. The Nago Island Research Facility will provide NFA with an operational base for the assessment of other viable fisheries and aquaculture activities, including seaweed, pearls, sponges, and coral. With much concentration on the mineral sector by the government since independence, renewable sectors such as fisheries need to be fully enhanced, as it shows great potential for PNG's economy into the future. And that's all we have for you tonight. Make sure to visit our webpage using the address now shown on your screen. Don't forget to like our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter. Until next week, have a pleasant evening. I'm Dennis Sorere, and this is Business PNG.